All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Chad Hoseth. I serve as the Assistant Vice Provost for International Affairs with the Office of International Programs at Colorado State University. Welcome to our session today as part of the 2026 International Symposium. This session is titled Transatlantic Bridges in Humanitarian Engineering. Global Partnerships for Shared Futures. We have a fabulous panel that's going to dig into this topic, and I'll turn the screens over to them here in a minute. But first, a few housekeeping notes. We will be reserving time at the end of their discussion for questions from the audience. We use the Q&A feature through our international symposium for that. So on the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A box. Please click that box. Share your question. We'll get to as many of them as we can, again, towards the end of our panel session here today. Closed captioning is also available for anyone who would like that to avail themselves of that service. And we will be asking for feedback through a short feedback questionnaire that will be provided to you through a link at the end of this panel today. With that, I've gotten to the end of my list of details. I will now turn the floor over to Aaron to introduce our panel and to dive into our panel discussion here today. So, Aaron, please take it away.
Thanks a lot. Let me share my screen here and I will start the slideshow from beginning. I just want to make sure everyone can see that okay. Great. So yeah, we're going to talk today about our partnership between Mexico, Germany, and the United States. That's a long ongoing partnership in humanitarian engineering. And welcome and thank you for joining us today. And I guess we want to start this by framing it as a question. How can transatlantic partnerships focused in humanitarian engineering foster shared responsibility and democratic global futures? So I'll let Livier introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Livier de Regil. I'm a head of scientific research office at Universidad del Valle de Atemajac, UNIVA, here at Guadalajara, Mexico. I am a specialist in science, technological development, and innovation management. And my work is about technology transfer processes. And I was a professor at SRH University in Germany with my colleague Ulrike Guy. My research is focused on humanitarian engineering, promoting the design of appropriate technology projects for sustainable community development, focused on water conflicts, transformative consumption, and poverty. Thank you.
Thank you. And Uli? Ulrike?
Right.
Mhm. Oh,
So good evening from Germany. So I'm here at the SRH University in Germany in Heidelberg, professor for environmental and process engineering, and I'm leading our program and in the faculty of water technology and all this fields around environmental engineering. My work is here mainly focusing on sustainable water resource management, but also renewable energies. And since several years, we are working in the fields of water conflicts, why mainly also to reduce regional and local water distribution conflicts.
great. Thanks. So I am a professor in the systems engineering department here at CSU, and my work is mostly focused on humanitarian engineering and sustainable systems. And I've had the pleasure to work with both Olivier and Ulrike on projects related to humanitarian engineering. We have a long ongoing relationship that we're going to talk about today in this presentation. So I guess to start with, I think it's important that we introduce the topic of what is humanitarian engineering because we've thrown out this term today, and I think it's good to start with a definition so you know what we're talking about. And it's basically engineering is problem solving in general, but humanitarian is engineering is problem solving directed at cultivating the well-being of underserved or marginalized communities. And I think when we think about engineering, we often think of like pocket protectors and calculators and technical stuff. But really, in humanitarian engineering, we merge social sciences and other areas that are merged with technical skills to improve capacity of these vulnerable communities. And that's the point of humanitarian engineering. So it's basically solving problems for low resource communities. And why is it important? Well, 90% of engineering focus, and that includes education and the things that we make, the widgets and the gadgets, is focused for only 10% of the population. And there's this gap where most of the world uh, doesn't have the things that we take for granted. And that is access to clean water and sanitation, things like energy, shelter, health, and education can be impacted by this. And really, resiliency to crisis can also be impacted.
Well, I would like to share something about the motivation that I got during my life and why I am very interested to work in this way, talking about the humanitarian engineering. I was a very inquisitive child. More I learned, more I wanted to know. While I was at the university, I had the opportunity to visit the mountains. You can see the image that is me. I was living for 2 weeks with people, indigenous people in this area. And obviously, I could see and learn from different ways to live and obviously different needs in these groups and how they solve these issues that they had. Obviously, I was after this experience during the university, I had the opportunity to work in a research project. This was here at UNIVA, and the project was about poverty and the survival strategies of the poor people in Mexico. I was able to compare vulnerable communities in rural landscape and urban areas. And obviously, this was in different municipalities and different states of Mexico. I could find that in both cases, their basic needs were not fully met. My PhD thesis was focused and designed a productive integration model for sustainable community development based on the resources and capacities existing in both areas, in rural and in semi-rural communities, where I involved during at least 5 years my different students, different groups of students, you can see in the image, and they had this opportunity to be in touch with these people and to listen the needs that they had in that moment, in that time. So 10 years ago, I met Dr. Aaron Brown, and he introduced me to these terms, humanitarian engineering and appropriate technology. The next, please. I began reading about this topic a lot. And I found to this author, Paul Pollack. He's an engineer, but he was an entrepreneur, and he said something about Dr. Brown showed about these words of this situation. The 90% of engineering focused in the 10% needs of the population. But my question was, okay, but what about the rest of these people, this 90% of the people in the world? Pollack also said that the appropriate technology movement failed because it was peopled by technocrats rather than entrepreneurs. So, because sometimes the engineers, poor engineers, they are only focused in the design of the technology to solve technological problems. But Pollack said that it was better, or it could be better if this design comes from the needs in the market, from the people. And that is why now I adopted the humanitarian engineering in my work.
Oh, this is not the right slide. I'm sorry. Can Uli, can you talk about your background? I'm sorry that I'm missing the slide there. Oh, you're on mute.
The slide was about a process diagram, which because I'm, as Olivier introduced, I'm the engineer, or so I studied mainly process engineering in yeah, as my background, which was full for of technology. But coming to the end of my study, I had exchange semester. I was for half a year in France, everything in French, and there I mainly dealt with all the international students. So, and that was, I think, also from, let's say, a German engineer, the first step into international work. And then even a German student lead me into the direction, into the water topic where I am now, because she said, oh, there's an institute working in alternative sanitation systems and you get a student job there. And then I said, okay, sounds interesting. Finally, I also made my diploma thesis there about reusing wastewater, which I found very interesting. I got a PhD offer. That's why I mainly stayed there and in the direction of yeah, supporting the others. So my PhD was about biogas desulfurization, so still a quite technical topic. But when you work in an institute working in for wastewater, a lot of PhD students from all around the world had been there. And so within their PhD research, there had been some cleaning the water with bamboo plants, some earthworm digestion. So a lot of technologies because they made the PhD to find appropriate technologies for their home countries. And that's how I learned what you can also do. I went completely in chemical engineering after my PhD because I thought if I would stay in that field, I would yeah, have no opportunity to do something else. I also think that was correct. Nevertheless, now I'm back in this environmental engineering. I worked for 8, 9 years in a chemical European company uh, in the R&D, and at some time I thought going back into research, and then I had here the opportunity to develop the program water technology, and there I integrated then also these yeah, topics which I had known, where I also had the colleagues from my past about alternative sanitation systems, about constructed wetlands and all these topics. And these I put also here in the curricula. And also meeting Livier then in Mexico when she was talking about humanitarian engineering, she was talking about her project she was doing with Aaron together. I saw the link that it's a perfect match also to put it into the education to support environmental engineering with humanitarian engineering together. And I think that's mainly the reason why I'm here.
Thanks, Uli. And sorry that I didn't have the updated slide in there. I opened the wrong file, but anyway, thank you for rolling with it. I'll go very quick. My background, I used to work in aerospace. That's why there's a picture of the Hubble telescope here, because I actually worked on a robotics mission to improve and fix the Hubble telescope. And I also worked on the Mars Curiosity, the landing mechanism. And that was all pretty exciting stuff, but it wasn't speaking to me for what my interests were. And I felt like if I'm doing stuff working on going to Mars and space, and it's not really that exciting for me. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. And I started thinking about my travels and I saw this disparity in the world. And these are some pictures I took actually in India on one of my trips. And I thought maybe my skills could be used for the benefit of improving this disparity and helping to make that situation better. And I discovered I went to Engineers Without Borders conference, and in that conference, I saw um, the work that was being done, and I got really excited. And long story short is I changed directions. And so instead of working on things that went to space, I worked on things here on Earth and trying to solve some of those problems in communities that could make people's lives better. And I guess the question is why is there this need? And these are some really sobering statistics. If you look at the world, you look at this disparity that I was speaking of, and the poverty that Livier mentioned, and the work that Ulrike just saw probably in Ghana too. A lot of need, she was saying. And what we see is that a lot of people don't have the things that we take for granted. 1.2 billion, for example, don't have adequate housing. People don't have clean water. People don't have good sanitation facilities. People die from hunger, and children, especially, are very vulnerable to this. And when we talk about that disparity, we can really highlight that by like the 1.1 billion people who are overfed in the world versus 1.1 billion people who are underfed. And so we have collectively come together around this topic, this humanitarian engineering, and our early relationship building started. My first introduction to Livier was I did a visit. I used to work at Metropolitan State University of Denver, where I was the director of the mechanical engineering program there. And during that time, we won a grant. We did a grant proposal together with UNIVA. And for that grant proposal, we did a site visit, which was we went down to Guadalajara and I met Livier and we talked about this idea of doing a project together that would bring students from Denver together with students from Guadalajara and faculty as well to work together on a humanitarian engineering project course that we did. And we won this grant, which was pretty exciting. And so 10 students went with myself and Dr. Tobani and one other faculty member from Metro State. And we went to Guadalajara, and 10 students from Guadalajara, along with Olivier and some other faculty, worked together both in the classroom and on site projects for this 100,000 Strongs in Americas. And then, as a true exchange, the students actually from Mexico also came to Denver for 2 weeks, which was it was just a great overall experience. I think the most exciting part for me was seeing the connection that was made between the students, even greater than the impact that we had on the communities. That was also an impactful part of that project. Olivia, are you?
Yeah, well, this is the obviously the participants during this program. ExxonMobil was the company cooperate with this fund. Obviously, Metro State University of Denver with the Humanitarian Engineering Club, and UNIVA has or had in that time research projects in rural communities. So that was the just to try to combine these elements and to have this excellent program. Well, this photos, it's about the experience, the academic experience. You can see in Mexico and in Denver, all these 20 students participating with different professors. This is some of the activities that the students were working, the field work. They were in a small community. The name is Atemajac de Brizuela. It's in the mountains here in Jalisco. It's the name of the state here in Mexico. And well, they were working with the to the harvest, rain harvest system in a small elementary school. And they adequate some aspects in a small bath in one of these houses in this community. They only use products or materials that they could found in this place. We don't brought with us materials from the city because that was the idea of the humanitarian engineering. And well, obviously, one of the most important aspects is the multicultural, the interchange between our students in different environments. And obviously, I think that was one of the most important aspects during this experience. Aaron.
So we actually were invited to the State Department and got recognized as innovation partners. And this is a photo from that. It's actually sort of a funny side story. I got the suit for this, and my shirt didn't have any buttons, I discovered as I was getting ready. So underneath that tie, my shirt is actually held together with paper clips, which actually set off the metal detector going into the State Department. So that was a pretty
And
funny experience.
he is from ExxonMobil, right?
Yep, this was an ExxonMobil. They funded our our
Project.
project. So they having humanitarian engineering work funded by ExxonMobil was pretty interesting too. Um, but as is sort of the intent of the 100K Strong for Americas, we built this relationship. So it was about mobility, but also improving that interchange between North America from the United States and other areas of the Americas, in this case in North America and Mexico. And so we actually have published multiple papers and we've done presentations on our work. And we've actually expanded that work. We've done some online COIL classes. And that also led to the relationship building with Germany and SRH.
Yes, and I think one step after I have heard about their project, what they have done, yeah, Olivier and me, we discussed also to carry out a project together in the field of humanitarian engineering. And we had the luck that one of our foundations in our state were founding a project which first we have done with the UNIVA, so SRH and UNIVA, and then we had made a second project together also with one university in Ghana. So there we have three countries together. Next, please. And the idea was, so as I said at the beginning, in the field of one of my projects, Democratia Aquatechnica, we were dealing with in the field of water conflicts, and now it come here in the field to having our ideas, or mainly the ideas from the students, which went into practice, so that they discover all the stages of a project development process, and here to find sustainable solution for field, for water conflicts. With support for Ghana, or with link to Ghana, as I just also came from Ghana, they have a high topic about galamsey, which is this illegal gold mining in Ghana, where they next to the environmental catastrophic pollution, they also get rid of the agricultural land for the communities. Also, the communities are not able to live in some fields anymore, and that is one topic where we thought, okay, let's do that together. And that is also the connection in between our academic background, working with the students, having the field work. So here also the trips were sponsored by our founder to go to Ghana to support, and also to come to Germany to develop the projects at the beginning. So first, in the first project, also the students from Mexico had been in Germany, and then my students went to Mexico to work at a farm. And with Ghana, it's always, I just said, the first time I had been Ghana, I was the only German there, because all around me there were Spanish-speaking people or from Ghana. Quite interesting, and also interesting. We had a very multicultural team, and it was very interdisciplinary, coming from engineering background, mixed with students from UNIVA with completely different backgrounds. And as you see here, also the different intercultural aspects. You see here Chinese students together with students from Mexico. So then together with Ghana. So it was also very good for the students to have this international experience. These are pictures what we have done in the field work in the lab, so testing the water, getting also some experience how the life is there. As you see, the kids digging all the time with their dirty hands into the drink water, which we cannot expect. We say, okay, normally you do not go into your drinking water with your hands with a cup. But also, of course, then the detailed analysis in the lab, what is about the pollutants. And next to that, of course, also, which mainly also Olivier was supporting from academic perspective, the work within the communities. Then next to that, you see a lot of group pictures. So we had been really a team, because it was an adventure wherever we had been, and it was really forming a group together, which you see here. You may go on. And then also here we won a prize for our first project, from the foundation to our water projects, and I had to present the project, so that was really nice that also our sponsor saw that has been a very good best practice project to share with others, to continue with that. And it was also, of course, nice for us that we had this follow-up project, Your Ideas into Practice too, where we have converted ideas in Ghana. And then also coming back to the academics, also due to the results we got, we wrote some paper, and it's always nice also for the students to see what they have done. And also now, when I just had been there, check what we have done. We see it here on the picture. You also see the Galamsey River with an expression. And it was also, I had been here at the Ghana Water Institute, so where they had been quite nice. And the first thing they were telling, they went with a boat on the river. So that was quite impressive that our students went on the boat there. And that was really some years ago now, and with a complete other institution. But that's, so they were known also, let's say, around what we had been doing there.
So we've also done some seminars and some COIL activities. COIL is Collaborative Online International Learning, for those who aren't familiar with it. And really, this COIL stuff started during COVID, because we had some plans to do more work in Mexico, but then because of the challenges of being able to travel at that time, it was suggested by UNIVA to do a COIL class. And so we did a COIL class, and we did some seminars and stuff also related to that. Olivier, you want to talk about this?
Oh, can you go ahead, please? All the next. Okay. Well, the international humanitarian engineering is because the projects were in this way. We had in two moments during 2021, two events were held. One with more than 40 students from USA, Colombia, and Mexico, and another with students from UNIVA, 135 students from Campus La Piedad campus. It's in another state, it's in Michoacan. The idea was to have different sessions, online sessions with the students with 4 different topics. We had another colleague from Colombia, and we offered these lectures 1 hour each day during 1 week. And after that, the students had workshops for 2 hours, and they could develop their solutions. The proposal was focused in agri-food systems, food security, housing conditions, water sources, and health services. The interesting thing in this was that they could identify, because they were mixed in multicultural groups, and they could see that the issues were common between the different countries. Yes, next, please. This is just some image about our classes or lectures. Next one, please. This is the students presented the progress of their own projects. They were working on breakout rooms, and yeah, after that exercise, they started to share with us their ideas. And this is the last day when we closed the program. Obviously, not all the students were in this photo, but was a really good experience for us. This is the postal from the other one in Michoacan. This is the people from Michoacan, Univa Campus La Piedad. And this is it's an example of the different projects that can you see, they link every project with the different SDGs, because for us was important that they connect how to offer solutions oriented to the sustainable goals.
So I guess the question is, what has made the partnership durable? Because now we've been working together for 10 years, so quite a while. And I think some of that has been the flexibility and being able to be respectful of each other's work and also having common goals, and also that our strengths are all in different areas. And I think that actually complements each other on our projects and our work.
And I think the common vision, no, because our interests are in the same way. Yes, obviously from different approaches or perspectives, different disciplines, but it's going to the same point, right?
And I think that one of the things that we've also been interested in is, okay, we had this initial funding in the 100K Strong for Americas and also for SRH and UNIVA's initial projects. And we've looked for other ways to fund or to work forward towards this goal of expanding our humanitarian engineering education, exposing more students to this, uh, contributing our work to communities to improve the well-being and the capacity of communities. And so here's just some things that we've done related to that. Do you want to talk about the conference there, Uli?
I will do so. I think also when we talk about sustainability, as my colleagues just mentioned, we now have introduced several projects, but a lot what we haven't told, what was continuous ongoing. So it's just, let's say, as Livia mentioned, for example, in her presentation, that she has been a guest professor for 1 year at my university, and there she also were focusing also on the topic of humanitarian engineering, where she has made an elective similar to Aaron, who also visited my university and also made the course of humanitarian engineering. And so also my students, they are still, even now, when they are not knowing them, they come to me and if interested in a master thesis, working with them together because they heard that in the past there was a course about humanitarian engineering. And so it's not me who really need to enhance students. Let's do something in that field. It's now known. And I think our relationship also that we are also wanting to continue. So when there is something, we mix it together, and also among the colleagues, I say that is also, let's say, the raising awareness that this topic can be introduced into academics. So that was also at the beginning that they see, okay, you can really write a master thesis in that way. So that is, let's say, when you're at an engineering faculty at the beginning, not really the case. And also we have some engineering design projects where also I see the engineering students, they also like when we're doing something for an NGO which cannot support any energy calculation, but we're supporting them also for the social entrepreneurships to do something for old people there. So it's not always, let's say, the big international projects. It's also the small projects in a town next to ours. And I think we have worked a lot online and in presence. And I think that is, let's say, how it continues.
Uh, can you go back next? That one, yeah. I would like to say that this maybe has no sense, but is the you can see the it's all the presentations, papers, and all the products, research products, conferences that we have done during these 10 years. From you can see from March 2017 was the first one, maybe after the humanitarian engineering program, and we have the last one in this case, in this report, in 2023. That is why the next, please, and the next. Okay, this is the project that we presented during the two coil experiences and the two face-to-face experiences. We conducted a study in which questionnaires were administered to students before and after the humanitarian engineering projects. A comparative analysis was performed to determine the effect of the humanitarian engineering as a tool on the development of the students' skills and social awareness. The article or this paper was presented at an international conference on humanitarian technologies with the AEEE in Bari, Italy, in 2025, and is published or was published on the IEEE platform or their website, and obviously we participated as authors in this. I think this was the last step after all this work during these years, and we could share with this knowledge, because it's not only the activities or the different events or different projects, it's the research behind all this effort, right?
So I guess this goes back to the topic that we were presenting is how can transatlantic partnerships foster shared responsibility and democratic global futures? And we think that humanitarian engineering is a good platform to promote these ideals. And we say it's a strange time to be in. If you're in this conference or the symposium, you understand that like USAID has been uh, taken apart and international aid and there's is changed the whole landscape of it. And so as that's changed, we're looking at this idea of like moving from a donor recipient dynamics to more of an equal research-driven partnerships, which is what we've been doing already, where we can look at research and projects between institutions that help distribute, as I said earlier, we have different strengths, different knowledges, different backgrounds, distribute those knowledges. So when Ulrike says, for example, that her students are interested in doing a master's in humanitarian engineering, uh, we can participate in that as advisors or faculty to help those students to achieve their goals there. And also looking at sustainable cost sharing fund models. Germany actually has some really great funding to promote this type of stuff. And also Mexico, if you look at their funding priorities in the latest budget, humanitarian engineering, maybe not those words, but what humanitarian engineering is part of their push and their focus. And so as the USA is sort of retreating from this right now, uh, there is other opportunities in the world. There's other people still, governments still interested in promoting it. And so we say that maintain this long-term academic and research collaboration is important even through that changing political landscape and that retraction. And so we're saying we also have a democracy within our own working group where we have shared decision making, we have transparency, and we have co-authorship on our work. And it's very important also to protect open science, to protect this exchange of ideas and our research ideas. And we can do that through joint public engagement like this to reinforce our solidarity and our collective responsibility for this. And I'll say we also, this is to go back to the durability part. I've changed universities even. I came to CSU 2.5 years ago now. And this relationship has continued even though I'm at a new institution. And actually, SRH had a strong relationship already with CSU, SRH Heidelberg. So, and when I went to visit, they actually had a Colorado State flag in their international office hanging up, which I thought was pretty cool. And I recently, this is a picture in November. I traveled to Guadalajara and we signed an MOU with CSU and UNIVA. And so, and UNIVA and SRH also has a long MOU. So these are all overlapping now. So it's officially in the language, it's official with the universities that we can be partners, but our partnership continues even through the exchange and changing institutions. Do you want to speak to this, Uli?
I think, yeah, next to, let's say, this official things, we always have also our students which work together and which learn next to that, say, what they really work. They transform themselves and also better understanding other opinions, other backgrounds, cultural, but also from what they study. So there's a long, let's say, positive impacts also by the students working in these projects. And here you see also the activities. And just as I just had been just with colleagues, I also would add here, it's not just the student transformation, but also the transformation of the colleagues in the team. So we also right now had, I was with different types of colleagues in Ghana, and there we also had this kind of transformation with different backgrounds also. Well, you have been growing up, what you have worked. And I think just to add it here, it's not just the student transformation, it's also the transformation of everyone working in that project and have a positive impact to academia, but of course to the world.
Aaron, I would like to say something about your students because they were here during, I think was in May, maybe, yes. And the next year in 2018, sorry, they decided to come to Guadalajara, to UNIVA, to work in this project. It's a appropriate technology that Professor Brown developed. And it was very, very interesting because when I was during their spring break, right? And I asked them, why are you here? I couldn't understand. Why have you changed your spring break for this kind of work for the communities? And yeah, they told me, oh, it's not Cancun here. Yeah, I think was that was the response that we needed to know that they were interested in this kind of projects and social projects as engineers. That I think that is the I would like to highlight this point, right? Because they are not a social workers, they are not working in these social aspects. They were concerned about the situation in these communities, and they wanted to find good solutions for them.
And related to that, that relates to the research that we've published as well, where we measured gains in social consciousness, which sounds like a really strange thing to measure as engineers. But we did these surveys before and after, and we could actually do a mixed methods approach to see how students transformed through the experience. And so this is an anecdotal example of that transformation, but we also have it quantified in our publications. And so it's something that I think we're all very proud of. And it's also very motivating to continue this work because you do see that not only is the work making a difference for vulnerable communities, but it's also building these partnerships. This is between Mexico, the United States, and Germany in this case, but also with our colleagues in Colombia and in Ghana. And I think that this is a good avenue, humanitarian engineering education, academics, to build those relationships, to build those connections.
And we had a good experience in Germany as well, right, Julie?
Yes, yes.
And I also want to point out this is also systems thinking, right? When we think about humanitarian engineering, so we're talking about social aspects. We're also talking about technology, technical aspects, the UN SDGs. All of these things are interconnected, and so these are complex problems. So systems thinking is a good tool or a good approach for complex problems. And so humanitarian engineering fits very well with systems thinking. Let's talk about the partnership realities because there are definitely, challenges because of time zones and et cetera. Uh, First, we had to shift gears in 2021. We had planned to do another study abroad class, but that was derailed. And this is when our first COIL experience happened. This is when I met Ulrike through the COIL experience, which was a great introduction. Thank you, Olivier, for that. And we collaborated on this COIL class with German students, with Colombian students, with Mexican students, and US students and faculty. And actually, we've continued that. This last summer, we had another COIL class in humanitarian engineering. There were 10 or 11 students from SRH or something. I can't remember the exact number. We had like maybe 18 or 19 or 20 or something from CSU. And then from Olivier did a really good job recruiting. We had like 80 from Mexico, and including faculty who were interested in the topic. And so we had this online collaborative class last summer that has been that we adjusted to this challenge, the coronavirus challenge, and it has created some good things out of that. Of course, that also means time zones are a challenge because it's 8 hours difference to Germany from Colorado. It's a 1 hour only to Mexico, but sometimes we get confused on the times. It can be easy to mix that up. But we've adjusted that. Even our systems engineering department, most of our classes are evening classes, but this one class that's not an evening class is our COIL humanitarian engineering class, and that's to be able to work with Germany so that it works for everybody. Languages, another challenge, right? So we have three different languages here, but also there are students who are from China that attend in Germany, for example, or from all over the world, really. A lot of the students in SRH are not German, actually. And so we've had the course in English, but there are students who are not English speakers. So we've done the group projects where we usually will try to organize them so that at least one person is bilingual and can sort of translate and keep the group together. And then, of course, trust and leadership and continuity and flexibility. These are all important things to continue this partnership. Does anybody want to speak to this? I can continue. We want to make sure also that we're doing the projects ethically. So how do we avoid extractive models of engagement with communities? The communities are our partners. They're not just there for just to do research or for our students to have an experience. We're try to create true partnerships with them as stakeholders. And so that we want to make sure that they have voice and agency in the projects. So this participatory methods is what we teach. And that means reciprocity. And we also, between our group here, we also have to make sure we have shared responsibility in that partnership. And I think we've done a good job of that. And so now, Chad, I think this is the slide that where you would come in for the audience Q&A.
Click the buttons. Well, the first question actually, for the audience, please, if you have questions for this panel, we've heard so many examples and anecdotes around your partnership and the resiliency and activity of your partnership over a decade. It's truly remarkable. So please add a question or two in the Q&A feature here at the bottom of your screen. I'll share one right off, and it's basically launching from what you just said, Aaron. Actually, if you could go back to the prior slide, even talking about these issues, ethical considerations, avoiding extractive models, kind of reciprocity and community agency. Can you talk about that perhaps more specifically? How did some of the local communities that you worked with and the organizations you worked with as you were conducting some of your projects internationally, how did they respond to the work? And is there, or how does the effort look like to move towards local self-sufficiency and agency on, again, in some of the work you were doing?
I can start really quickly to talk about the foundational stuff that we teach our students in the humanitarian engineering courses, and that's the participatory methods. And by that, we mean um, we engage with the communities in a way that is a true partnership where they express what their needs are and they express what their challenges are. And I'll give one example. I did a project in Costa Rica and went there, and the students that I brought to Costa Rica asked, "What are we going to do? Are we going to do a water project? Are we going to do an electricity project?" And I said, "Well, we'll have to ask the community what their needs are." And we didn't anticipate ahead of time, there was no way we could have, to know that the community's number one issue was that monkeys were stealing their chicken eggs. And so we went there, and that's what they expressed. We have monkeys stealing our chicken eggs. And so the students, instead of building a water project or an electricity project, they built a box where the hens would lay the eggs, and the eggs would funnel into another box that the monkeys couldn't steal the eggs anymore, which is just kind of a funny project, but it really helped the community. Um, I think though that we try to instruct our students on methodologies that are very much respecting culture, respecting input from the community. And I think that Livier, you could talk about for example, the community in Mexico that we worked with, and how UNIVA has a long relationship with that community and how that was fostered and et cetera.
Well, I think obviously we started with some small courses or uh, lectures with students previous to visiting this or visit these places, and I think the most important is that they need to recognize that the I don't know, the characteristics of each community. And obviously they have to have this respect about, yeah, they, sometimes the students, when they had this kind of experience, they want to change to the community, offer solutions, but changing the way that they usually do things, right? And that is the first thing that we need to teach to the students. They are not gods in these communities. Sometimes the people see the students like a god, but they are not. They need to understand that before. And the community always, if you invite to the community to take part of this development, to this project, because they need to feel that they are the owner of that project, not the university, not the engineers, and not the rest of the people. It's from the community. If the project, if they are convinced, or they know and recognize that this is their project, obviously that all the activities, all the actions will be successful. But it's very complex. It's very complicated. we have previous to this intervention, we had we have made a diagnostic about the community, about the social dynamic, because we need to understand how they are talking about social cohesion, about communication, and obviously the adaptability level that they have regarding the proposals.
That's great. Another question, different topic, thinking of, and you referenced the environment, the Rest in Peace USAID slide, right? Where we are in a moment where access to funding in the United States looks different. We talked about some workarounds, opportunities in other spaces. Do you have other reflections or recommendations for faculty or students who are interested in humanitarian engineering, interested in these topics, want to get involved, but maybe have concerns about kind of the funding or policy landscape in this environment?
That's a great question, and I think that things fluctuate. Right now, we're in a very extreme end of that fluctuation as far as the development world, right? But I don't think that what we're seeing is hopefully not a permanent situation. I expect that there will be, with changing political backgrounds and pressure, hopefully we'll have something come back. It probably won't be what it was before, but we'll have something different. But I think working with local communities and working with local groups can be a very effective way to still be involved. So working with NGOs, Uli can speak about the groups she works with in Ghana, for example. Uli.
Yeah, I think it's also important not to stop because there's, let's say, no funding or anything. So to still be motivated, and there are a lot of possibilities. You can also continue doing, as for example, also our COIL class, which we had, is something where also students can participate without the cost. And there are always small projects, at least to have a start of a project or to have the idea. So there's, of course, it's always great to have the funds for it, but often it's then also just, let's say, giving some support for one of the students with gravity is still continuing with the topic. In Ghana, we just had been at, let's say, the governmental water supply topic, where, let's say, we thought, okay, we do not have the funding, but we convinced them, let's say, with, let's say, another direction about the water quality, which is good for the communities, but also in terms of that a better water quality saves also their money in terms of water purification. So that, let's say, our both objectives somehow align, that we also think, okay, that the heads are thinking in another way to do also support with the communities and work with the universities there together.
Excellent. I'll just say thank you for this engaging conversation. Thank you for kind of practical ideas and solutions for engaging with partners and for incorporating students and student learning in that type of engagement. At Colorado State University, there is a growing appetite and interest to build COIL courses, as you have done. Thank you for outlining both the many opportunities that kind of emerge from using technologies to blend learning experiences as you've done and kind of introduce students not just to new topics, but to new kind of cultures and new communities of student learners through these online collaborative learning spaces, these COIL spaces. And congratulations on being able to sustain this partnership around humanitarian engineering for as long as you have. We really, on behalf of our virtual audience, appreciate all of your comments and all of your reflections during this panel discussion today. A few final comments as we wrap up. There will be, again, a survey, a feedback questionnaire that goes out to all audience participants at the end of this particular panel, plus we'll do some follow-up by email. Please send us your feedback on this and all panels. We do love your feedback, and we'll incorporate your comments into our plans for the 2027 International Symposium. And please, if you can, come back for our next International Symposium session. It's titled A Bold Invitation, the Peace Corps at 65. 65 years. This is Peace Corps Week here in the United States, celebrating the 65th anniversary of the Peace Corps. And our featured speaker will be the Honorable Carol Spahn, the 21st Director of the U.S. Peace Corps. She was the director during the Biden administration, and she is the current Colorado State University Presidential Executive in Residence. That session starts in 30 minutes at 12 noon here in the Mountain Time Zone. So hope to see you at that and other sessions. To everyone. And again, our sincere appreciation to the panelists for this fabulous conversation today. With that, I'll just say thanks to everyone. Hope to see you at the next session.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.